If you want to get seriously strong, build muscle, or master calisthenics movements, then progressive overload is key. And you probably heard this concept before, but maybe don't really understand how to use it. I've been asked again recently, how do I force progressive overload? How do I use it? It's something that a lot of people don't understand. And if you follow what I'm going to teach in this video, you will understand how to use it, and you'll learn that you can use progressive overload in every workout. If you ever can't use progressive overload, then there's something going on that we need to address, and I'm going to talk you through how you can assess that, how you can address those things, and also how you can make sure that in every single workout you are making progress and moving forward with your strength, flexibility, or calisthenics goals. And before we get started, I'm going to give you guys one little reminder of what today's show is brought to you by. So our UMS online personal training right now is at a huge discount. We've increased the price recently to $79 per month, and which is still incredible value to be able to get online personal training, all your programs written for you, all of that compared to what I've paid for my online coaching. But for this month, we thought we'd give everybody an opportunity to lock in the old rate of $49 per month. So it's a 38% discount. We've made 20 memberships available. In the first week, 10 have been sold, so we've got 10 left available for the end of this month. So if you want to get online personal training and you want to join the UMS and work with my brother Yanni and me directly, then this is for you. Go to unitygym.com/UMS-discount, or you can click the link in the description. So don't delay. If that's you and you want to get it, jump on board, grab the offer. So progressive overload is basically, if you don't understand what it is, it's the way that you are progressively getting stronger. So a good example of how you use progressive overload is if you grab yourself a set of 20-pound dumbbells and you can curl them until you for 10 reps. So you can do 10 reps of 20-pound dumbbells and you do 3 sets. And then in the next workout, you go to 11 reps. Next workout, you go to 12 reps. And then once you can do all 3 sets of 12 reps, and then you increase the weight and you go up to 22.5-pound dumbbells and you'll drop back down to say 9 reps or 10 reps, that is progressive overload. So it's this approach of consistently getting stronger with what you do. And it is absolutely essential to make progress. You will not make progress if you keep doing the same things. And that's a hard thing for beginners to get their head around, because when you start in the gym, when you start working out, you get pretty much what we call free gains. So if you could start doing any kind of resistance training. Research shows that if a beginner does push-ups and nothing else, they increase their strength through their whole body, because the reaction or the response that happens is that the nervous system itself gets stronger. So your whole system gets stronger from doing anything when you start. But if you've tried going to the gym, doing something, increasing your strength, building a little bit of muscle, you would have noticed that pretty quickly you hit a plateau. And in those first couple of months, you're able to pick up new weights every time you go to the gym. You can do a little bit more, but then all of a sudden you get to this point where nothing seems to make you stronger. And people get really frustrated because they try really hard. They try going to failure on every set, but you're not seeing those gains. And progressive overload is a very, very deliberate thing. So the first thing that I want to get across to you guys is that progressive overload is not about just going to failure. Going to failure is not something that's repeatable or predictable. So when you just go to failure, like in one workout, you might not be able to go to failure for the same reps on the same sets for the next workout. So if you're doing one workout where you're doing these 20-pound dumbbells and you're going to failure on 10 reps, and let's say your second set you do 9 reps, third set you do 8 reps, and then the fourth set you do 6 reps, and the fifth set 5 reps. That's not repeatable and predictable for the next workout, because all you've done is you've pushed your body to absolute failure. So what is repeatable and predictable is if you do the same amount of reps for all sets, and then in the next workout you increase by 1 rep. And let's talk about an example where you do 5 sets per exercise, because that's what we use in the UMS. In our primary workouts, 5 sets is a really nice amount of volume that most people can fit into a workout. You can get 5 sets of your primary workout done and then still do some supplementary work in a 60-minute workout. But it also gives you like the minimum amount of volume required to see some significant growth, because we do need, volume is important. It's not just about how much you lift, it's about the volume that you get through the workout. And so what happens is, if you do all 5 sets at 10 reps and then you increase to 11 reps in the next workout, that's predictable. And you won't always get 11 reps in for every set in the next workout. You might get 11 reps for the first 3 sets and then 10 reps for the 4th and 5th set. So then you would still stay on 11 reps for that workout, and then you would go to, you would stay on 11 reps until you can get 11 reps for all 5 sets. So maybe in the next workout, you'll be able to do 11 reps for 4 sets and 10 reps for the 5th set. And then in the next workout, you'll do 11 reps for all 5 sets. And then the next workout, as soon as you get those 11 reps for all 5 sets, in the next workout, you'll do 12 reps. And the process will probably repeat again. When you go up in reps like that, and you were doing a balls to wall effort where you got 5 sets of 11 reps, it's unlikely that you'll be able to do 12 reps for all 5 sets in the next workout. If you can, great. Then in the next workout, you'll go up again. And then in most programs, at least in the earlier phase, as a coach, we write a rep range. Like, it's quite common to have a rep range of, say, 10 to 12 reps or 8 to 10 reps. And the reason why there is that rep range there is because we're looking for failure between that 8 to 10 rep range, because it's hard to gauge exactly when you're going to achieve muscular failure. And I'll talk about what that means in a second as well. So that's the general gist of how you use progressive overload. You're focusing on increasing your reps first, and then you'll focus on increasing weight. And then whenever you go up in weight, there's this inverse relationship between weight and reps. So when the weight goes up, the reps are going to come down. So as soon as you increase the weight to 22.5 pounds, then in the next workout, you can expect that you'll be lifting less weight. But then you repeat the process again. And it's this constant tweaking and adjusting. And now's probably a good time to say that this is why tracking your progress is absolutely vital. It is very, very important that you track your progress. So this is why something like the app that we use for our online personal training, the app that we have is really, really good, because you log your reps and the weight that you did for every set, and then there's a little button that you can click where you can look at what you did in every workout that you've done. So when you're in your workout and you go into the gym and you're doing your bench press and your rows, you have a look at the app first and you look at how many reps you got, at how much weight in the last workout, and then you intentionally plan for what you're going to do for this workout. It's very rare that I'll go into a workout where I'll say, oh, let's see what I can do today. That kind of mentality doesn't achieve progressive overload. You go in with a very deliberate intention of what you're going to do, not what you'll see what you can do. The only set you really see what you can do on is the last set. The last set you can go for it and try and push yourself even further. And so the next thing that we need to talk about is, what does failure actually mean? Because a lot of people don't understand how to go to failure, or if they should be going to failure. Failure is the inability to perform the concentric phase of a repetition with good technique. So the concentric phase is where the muscles are shortening during the muscle contraction. So in a pull-up, the concentric phase is when you're pulling up to the bar. In a dip, the concentric phase is when you're pushing up from the dip. In a chest press, the concentric phase is when you're pushing the weight away from you. In a deadlift, the concentric phase is when you lift the bar up. In a squat, the concentric phase is when you stand up. In a bicep curl, the concentric phase is when you curl. So it's the hard part of the rep. It's when you're pulling against gravity. It's when the muscles are shortening during the contraction. And when you can't perform the concentric phase with correct technique anymore, you have failed. And if you want to use progressive overload correctly, you only record the amount of reps that you got with correct technique. And this is the first place that a lot of people go wrong. Because if your program says that you were meant to do 8 to 10 reps and you failed on the 7th rep, and you tried really hard to get the 8th rep, and maybe you're doing a chest press and you still got the bar up, but the way you got it up is that your hips came off the bench and your shoulders started coming up like this, and you're going like that, or your mate had to help you to get it up, your mate had to give you a spot. That's a failed rep, and that rep wouldn't count. You would mark down, even though you moved the bar for 8 reps, you would mark 7 reps, because if you mark 8 reps, you will not be able to use progressive overload correctly. And there's different ways that you would approach that. If you only got 7 reps in the first set, so if you failed on that first set, then you really messed up your prediction on what you were going to be lifting for this workout, and you definitely need to reduce the amount of weight that you're going to do for the next set. Because if you fail on a set, like true failure where you cannot do any more, it is highly unlikely, maybe even close to impossible, that you are going to be able to do even close to that same amount of reps for the next set. So, excuse me. In that example, you would reduce the weight for the next set. If you failed on, say, the last set, if on the last set you got 7 reps, then in the next workout, you know for sure that you are not ready to increase weight because you didn't even get all of your sets at the lower range of the amount of reps that you were going for. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by failure. If you have a look at me here doing a failed pull-up, this is an example. I was just filming this to show what not to do. Oh, whoops. Maybe I'm going back to get the camera in the right position. So if one of your reps looks anything like this, that does not count. Now, a lot of people would say that that pull-up counted because I still got over the bar, didn't I? You look at that. My chin got over the bar. I got right up there. But the way I got there, that is called a failed rep. So it's very, very important that if you want to be able to use progressive overload properly, that you are honest with yourself with how many reps you can do, because a rep like what I did just then it absolutely does not count. So that's how we use progressive overload with weightlifting. With calisthenics, if you're not using weighted calisthenics, if you're using body weight calisthenics, which most people are going to be doing for a long time before they can add weight, then progressive overload only occurs with reps. You're always focusing on just being able to increase the amount of reps that you can do with good technique until you get up to a rep range where you can consider adding weight to the movement. So I'd want to be doing at least 5 sets of 10 reps of a movement before I considered adding weight, because the second you add weight, you're going to be reducing the amount of reps that you do. And in the in the beginner phase of calisthenics, like in the absolute beginner, you really want to be doing progressions that you can do between 8 and 10 reps of, unless you're using eccentric reps, but that's a whole different kettle of fish there. And there's a way that you use progressive overload with eccentric reps as well. So I'll see if I've got time on this live stream to talk about that. And then when you can do your 5 sets of 10 reps with the calisthenics movement, then you can consider adding weight. And once you become what's called a trained beginner in calisthenics, so a trained beginner is still considered a beginner in the sense of the progressions that you can do. So you still can't do things like handstand push-ups and one-arm chin-ups or, even tuck planches or anything like that. But you're not an absolute beginner. You've been training for 6 months. You can probably do some pull-ups now. You can probably do some dips. And in the trained beginner phase of calisthenics, the best rep range that I believe is the 5 to 8 rep range. 5 to 8 is a really nice rep range where you can still use a progression that you can control well, and it's still giving you enough volume, but it's challenging you. If you're doing 5 to 8 reps, it's still a very challenging exercise for you. And it's the same thing. If you can do 5 sets of 5 reps, then in the next workout you try for 6 reps. And you might only get 6 reps for the first 2 sets, and then 5 reps for the last 3 sets. And then in the next workout you still try 6 reps, and you keep, like every single workout, you'll try one more set where you do one more rep. And so now we talk about what happens if you just can't do any of the things that I've just spoken about. So none of this stuff is working for you, and you're just stuck on the same amount of reps or weight that you're doing. So there's several methods you can do. There are a lot of ways that you can force progressive overload, but these are my favorites. So you can do last set to failure, where, when you get to that last set, if you can do 1 or 2 extra reps that you are holding back on, then you do that. Because basically what we want to do, the way that you achieve progressive overload is that in every single workout, you need to increase the load that you're lifting. So the total load, total volume. So the total load, an example would be if I'm doing, let's say I'm doing bench press with 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. I'm just going to say 100 because it's an easier number for mathematics. So I'm doing 100 kilogram bench press and I'm doing 5 reps per set. So that means in one set, I've lifted 500 kilograms because I did 1 rep, 100 kilograms, 2 reps, 200 kilograms. So it's 500 kilograms in one set. If I do 5 sets of that, I've lifted 2,500 kilograms. So the way I achieve progressive overload is to lift more than 2,500 kilograms in the next workout. And there's different ways that you can do that. You could do 1 more rep in one set. If I did just one set where I did 6 reps and all the other sets I did 5 reps, that would give me 2,600 kilograms. But what I could also do is I could do that last set to failure. But then what I could also do is I could do rest pause on the last set. So if I still can't do more than 5 reps for all 5 sets, then on the 5th set, I can just get that 5th rep out. I can rack the bar, sit there, rest for 10 seconds, unrack the bar, do one more rep, just get it, rack the bar, rest for 10 seconds, do another rep, and do that until you cannot lift the bar anymore. Generally speaking, in my experience, when doing rest pause, I can usually not do more than between 2 or 3 sets where I do 1 or 2 extra reps after I've gone to failure. And that will achieve progressive overload because that will force more volume onto your body, which is a way to get progressive overload. So there's several ways that you can force that as well. And then if none of those things are working, so if you're using all these techniques and you still go to the next workout and you cannot lift more or do more reps than what you were doing before, then you need to look at other factors of what's going on in your training and in your body, because none of this works if anything has changed in anything that would affect your performance. Just give me one sec, guys. So, for example, if you had a big night on the weekend and you didn't get much sleep, or you drank a lot of alcohol or whatever it was, any of those things are going to affect your body's ability to perform. So in a workout after that's happened, like if you normally go to sleep at a reasonable hour and you don't drink alcohol and you don't stay out partying or whatever, then the next week is going to be affected. You will not be able to lift the same amount as you were for the whole week as you experienced the week before. People might say that it only takes them a day or two to recover from a big night, but it will affect your physical performance for a whole week. It'll take you a while to get back to your equilibrium. So, you have to look at that first. You have to look at, has anything happened? And stress, even just stress at work or stress with your family, any kind of added stress is going to affect your performance as well. And then you need to look at whether you've been sick recently, if you've had a virus, whether your diet's changed. Like, you have to look at all these factors and work out if there's something going on that would be limiting your performance. And then after that, if none of those things have changed, if everything's consistent and you're still not able to achieve progressive overload, then we need to consider deloading. How long have you been training for consistently following the program that you're on, that you've now hit a plateau? Because what happens with programming is something called, like, a goal of a good program is to achieve something called adaptation. So adaptation is when you adapt to what you're doing and you become stronger. So you're using progressive overload to achieve adaptation. And the height of adaptation, the peak of adaptation, is something called supercompensation. And what happens with supercompensation is that you actually, just give me a sec, I've got a really good graph for this. So I'm going to bring this up. We got this graph made up somewhere. Where is it? Where is my supercompensation graph? I can't find it. Maybe I won't bother doing it. So what happens with supercompensation is that you actually, maybe I can search for it. Maybe I'll find it that way. Just give me a sec. So what happens is you've got your baseline level of strength. You've got time and you've got your baseline level of strength. So strength is going up here, time's going forward here. And as your training goes forward, when you actually do a new program and you do a new workout for the very first time, you'll actually experience a dip in strength immediately. If you tried to do those same exercises a day or two later, you'd probably be weaker. But then your body adapts to it and it starts to become stronger. And over the next couple of workouts, which is why when you do proper programming, you repeat the same workouts for a week, for several weeks. When you're doing those workouts, you'll actually get stronger. You'll adapt as as time goes by over the workouts, but then you'll plateau. And that will happen with whatever program you're doing. You will always hit a plateau with the program, and that's when periodization comes in and you need to change certain variables. But at that height of adaptation, when you rest and recover by having a deload week, that's when the highest adaptation occurs. That's when you'll have the biggest strength development. So it's really important to understand when it's time to deload. And deloading is where we do only 40% of the volume for 5 days, for 5 to 7 days. So it's where you still keep doing the same, you lift the same amount of weight, you still do the same exercises, you do the same workout, but instead of doing 5 sets of your primary exercises, you only do 2 sets. And instead of doing 3 or 4 sets of your supplementary exercises, you only do 1 or 2 sets. And during that deload week, that's when your body is going to go through the highest part of adaptation, which is called supercompensation, and you'll come back stronger. So there's a lot that goes in it here. There's a lot that goes into progressive overload, into supercompensation, into programming. And if the takeaways for you are track your progress, track your workouts, track the amount of weight you're lifting, track the amount of reps that you're doing, so that you go into your workouts deliberately planning on what you're going to lift. And then plan what you're going to lift. Say, okay, well, I did X, Y, and Z in the last workout. So in this workout, I'm going to do this. And you're looking for, when you're using progressive overload intelligently, you're hungry to get one more rep of one set. And when you get to that upper rep range of all of your sets, then you're looking for the increase in like literally 2 to 3% of the amount of weight that you lift is enough to achieve progressive overload. And you'll go up in that 2 to 3% of weight, then the reps will drop down, and then you'll repeat it. So I think people are often making the mistake of looking for too big a jump. Like they're thinking that progressive overload means that in every single workout, they're adding 5 pounds to their lifts. They're going from the 7.5 pound dumbbells to the 10 pound dumbbells, and then in the next workout to the 12.5 pound dumbbells. And that can, as I said, happen in the earlier phases of training. But once you're a trained beginner or beyond, you're looking for micro increases. You're looking for 1 rep in 1 set, or you're looking for a 2 to 3% increase in the amount of weight that you're lifting. But if you could do that in every single workout, imagine how that adds up over 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. Like, it is a huge increase in strength if that was happening in every single workout. So, use an app like the app we use for our online coaching, where you can, track your progress and you can reflect back on all of your workouts, and you can be very deliberate with what you're training. And you need to follow a really good program as well. Programming is very, very important for progressive overload, because it doesn't matter what you do, you will plateau with whatever it is that you're doing at some stage, and it usually occurs around the 4 to 6 week mark for most people. And then we need to introduce a new program. But when you change programs using periodization, there's a real art to it, and you've got to make sure that the way that you change tempo or exercise selection, or the way that you use overload techniques, like overload techniques are another thing that comes into play with progressive overload to force progression. So things like supersets, drop sets, wave loading, rest pause method, 1-5 method, 21s. Drop sets, there's contrast sets. There's so many different methods that you can use, and all of these things, when you use them intelligently, and when every 4 weeks you go into this new program that challenges you a little bit more, you will achieve progressive overload, and you'll achieve incredible results. Like, your body will change in profound ways. You'll keep getting stronger. You'll keep building muscle. You'll keep getting more flexible. All these good things are happening. And before I sign off, I'll give you guys one last, notification for this. One of the biggest wastes of times that I have had in my days of training is trying to figure out all this stuff by myself, because there is so much involved in it. And whatever you choose to do with your training, there's going to be a cost involved. You're either going to pay with ignorance, so you're going to pay down a debt of time and a debt of ignorance where you don't know what you're doing. And that, in my experience, is a very costly debt, because that cost me really bad injuries in my shoulders. That's how I got slap tears. It's how I got golfer's elbow, because I was ignorant. I was ignorant to what I was trying to learn. I didn't understand how to write the programs for myself that I wanted to, in my more juvenile days of being a personal trainer. And I paid a heavy price through a debt of ignorance, and it cost me time as well. And I'm 46 now. Man, my most valuable asset right now is time. And then the other way that you pay for it is with money, and you work with a coach. You work with somebody who you don't have to guess anything, you don't have to waste any time, and you don't have to pay a debt of ignorance, because somebody is going to pay that debt down for you, and that costs you money. And you've just got to decide for yourself which cost is something that you can palate more. Can you pay down that cost of ignorance over a long period of time? And let me make this clear. I've seen people paying down that debt of ignorance for a lifetime. I've seen people that are paying down that debt 15 years after their training, and they still have not learned how to train properly in a way that produces the result that they want. And then they finally decide that they're going to work with, and that's even a cost of the ego. It's the ego that's stopping them. They finally decide to start working with a coach, and within 6 months, bang, it really happens for them. And so if that's something that you want to do, as I said before, right now we're offering our online personal training at a 38% discount. So we've only got 10 memberships left. If you want to get one, go to unitygym.com/UMS-discount, or click the link in the description of this video. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's episode. I've got a couple of cool videos that I'm going to be making this week. I'm going to be talking about how you fix knee injuries, things like meniscus tears and things like that. And I've got a couple of other good concepts as well. Singing, Dancing, Muscle Man saying, I remember hearing Dorian Yates discuss incremental progressive overload. He said, even if you add a single pound per week to your bench over the course of a year, that equals a 50-pound increase. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's how it works out. So, we're not looking for those huge increases in weight or reps in every workout. We're looking for these tiny little changes. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I will see you guys tomorrow. Hit me up with your questions for topics that you want me to talk